Welcome to this week's legislative update. We're doing a video update because we're talking about pay and retirement COLA and issues that we really feel like we need to talk to the members as up close and personal as we can get. It's been a busy time, and yet a time where not a lot has actually happened yet at the General Assembly. The governor's budget was presented to a joint appropriations committee last week, and it did not seem very popular off the top.
No, it wasn't popular at all, Ardis. In fact, we were really surprised at the amount of bipartisan support we had for state employees and retirees, because they were asking the question from both sides of the aisle, why aren't all employees being treated the same? Why aren't retirees being treated fairly?
I was shocked. I mean, I didn't expect that kind of support from both sides of the aisle.
Yes, Ardis, and we're also a little concerned about the governor not fully appropriating the $71 million that was agreed upon last year for the state health plan, as well as concerned about $10 million being further appropriated for DOT and cleaning up the highways when there's already appropriations there within DOT agencies to take care of that business. We're just curious of why there's extra $10 million being appropriated there. It's just not a real sound budget for state employees.
Right. And I think as far as retirees are concerned, we've definitely heard from you being shut out by the governor. It makes no sense. There's no common sense to a budget that shuts retirees out entirely and basically thumbs its nose at the working families.
In private conversations I've had with some of the legislators too, they are hearing from retirees back home. In fact, today before I came back to the scenic office, I was told every time I go back home, I hear from retirees, we have got to do something for them this year. So that kind of pressure our members need to keep on with their legislators. Let them know, I need a COLA.
Yeah, so I think that's the bottom line message for everybody.
And yes, it was a very busy week at the legislature. Flint and myself are handing out these wonderful cards indicating the appropriations of a pay raise in the past 6 years, as well as showing the CPI index and showing that state of North Carolina has been behind on it.
Those are popular. And legislators really, from what I'm hearing, legislators feel like they are very helpful at framing this picture.
I tell them it's very convenient keeping their coat pocket right next to their heart to know who makes the state of North Carolina run.
So we're getting the word out and we're passing the cards out, but what they have to have is the calls and the emails from constituents, because legislators do care much more about you, and they should, because you're their constituent, than they should care about lobbyists. So please, on pay raise, on COLA, you got to get the word out. The other thing that is a fairly massive issue, it certainly is for us as your lobbying team, is Department of Transportation cuts. So every year we're fighting Department of Transportation cuts. It's a fact of life. But this year something very bizarre happened. The legislature asked for 10% in terms of cuts from the department, and what did they get?
The governor's appointed staff came up with 22% in cuts, mostly coming from the Century Center here in Raleigh.
Yeah.
And designed as a restructuring of the agency, so they have to avoid the RFP process that's stated by statute that they need to do.
Yeah, so it seems very much, and it feels like the same old of trying to privatize and contract out more and more jobs. And I don't understand what the end goal is, because we cannot figure out if there is any cost savings. In fact, we're being told from folks inside Department of Transportation, it's the opposite.
And Representative Dwayne Hall asked a very good question in committee, asking for the dollar amount of what are you saving, and nobody has been able to provide that dollar amount yet. So we need to know, how are our employees doing this cheaper? Because we had the same situation a few years ago with prison maintenance. We were able to show our employees do it cheaper than you can on contracts.
And so if you work at DOT, if you know somebody who works at DOT, have them contact the scenic office. And if they just talk to any of us on the lobbying staff, let us know if you have information, real numbers about what it costs to contract these jobs out, as opposed to what it costs for the state to perform the work right now. That's what we need in order to win this battle. Otherwise, the department itself is giving your jobs away. So if you work for DOT, we need you. And there's another wrinkle to that, which is if you have information you just don't feel comfortable, your name being associated with it, it doesn't have to be. We just need the information. The taxpayers deserve to know if there's contracts being put out there that don't really save the taxpayer any money and maybe don't help the situation with roads, which I think
the best asset North Carolina has is its employees, and we need to save those jobs, and we need to be able to have hard figures to show they do the job and they do it more efficiently every day, and not some pie in the sky contract that somebody projects 20 years down the road.
so. Those are the issues that rose to the top of the boiling pot this week, and we would appreciate your calling your legislators and calling us if you have information we need to know. That's this week's update. Thank you.